hearing. So Eric? While she's putting it up, this is a hearing, which is a request for a rezone. We have the applicant, who's represented by their counsel, Dan Raleigh here, and his team. They requested a rezone of 3 tracts from R2 to R3. As part of that process, the township noticed that several tracts next to their properties were zoned inconsistent with how they're currently used. So the township identified several tracts to rezone as part of this process and clean up its zoning map. So what you have as a result is their 3 tracts and I believe 26 or so other tracts that are involved here. With the plan that's on the screen, the left side of that plan, at the top it says existing zoning. You can see there's some dark highlighted tracts. Those are the tracts of the applicant. If you flow to the next one, which is proposed zoning, those go from the shaded properties to, which is R2, to the light dotted properties, which are R3. Right to the south of that, it is actually south you see a section of townhouses that are there as well on Sageview Road, or Sageview Drive, or is it Road? Sageview Drive. You'll see a number of those properties on the map to the left are also zoned R2. The R2 zoning in our township ordinance is single-family homes, and you can see these properties are already developed as townhomes. So what we did is we grabbed those as well to properly designate those as the R3 zoning, so that the townhomes are now in the townhome district. In addition to the homes, there are several pieces of property there as well, which I believe are open space or condominium common areas for these townhomes. Those were grabbed to be R3 because they're part of the townhouse development as well. There's one tract which is on the left side of the plan, north, would be, I guess, east of Farmington, that is split zoned, which means it's zoned, portion of it is zoned R2 today, and a portion of it is zoned R3 today. Since that property fronts on Farmington, the township wanted to keep that as R2 because all the properties on Farmington Ave are single family, and that by keeping it R2 and making it entirely R2, instead of half R3 and half R2, we take away some of the confusion that may occur if that property is developed in the future. So that's the goal that we're getting to, is from the zoning map on the left to the proposed zoning on the right. That's really the goal of where we are this evening. The first part of what is going to happen tonight is I will enter in some exhibits into the record. We'll then open it up to public comment. At that point, you can come up, ask questions. If we can answer, we'll answer it. The applicant's here to answer questions. Once the public comment portion is done, we can close the hearing, go back into the meeting, and then vote whether you're in favor or against the ordinance itself. So just so the record has everything in it, the first thing I'll put in is Township 1, this is T1, we'll put in the application. T2, we'll put in the legal notice. T3 is the zoning map that you see up on the board here. Give me a second here to keep my notes in order. T3 is the proposed development plan. T4, if I didn't say that. T5 will be the proof of publication of the legal notice. T6 will be the certificate of mailing, in that letters were actually mailed out to all of the owners of the properties that are being rezoned to advise them of this evening's public hearing. T7 will be the certificate of posting. T8 will be the Pottstown Metropolitan Regional Planning Commission agenda and comments, and they were not against this at all. T9 will be the Montgomery County Planning Commission comments on the proposed ordinance. So as part of the hearing, like I said, legal notice was published in the paper. all of the properties that are being rezoned received letters of tonight's meeting. In addition to that, the applicant took it upon themselves. They actually sent their own notices out to all the property owners. They invited all the property owners to a meet and greet, question and answer session before this evening. So that occurred above and beyond what legal notice we have to require by code. What the developer is proposing on their 4 tracks, and I mentioned 3 tracks previously, which are the 3 shaded in the R2 that are going to R3 on the right-hand side. They also own that larger block in the back. They are proposing 28 townhomes and 2 single-family homes, so which is consistent with the number of homes they could get today. However, by doing this rezone, they can place the units in different locations, so it is keeping townhomes together with the existing townhomes and then building some single families on the easternmost portion of the property. Just so the public is aware, before we start taking public comment, we are not approving that plan this evening, and actually that plan is not officially submitted to us yet. That will be a result of, if the township approves this rezone, I suspect pretty quickly what we'll get is a subdivision, a land development application from the applicants. We will then process that in our normal process, a little bit different than normal in that if you pass new business A, we will also have a planning commission, so they will be subject to going through the township planning commission process, which hasn't been normal of late, but it'll turn into our normal practice pretty quickly. So with that, we can open it up to any member of the public. If you have questions, comments, concerns, if you just want to make a statement for or against this application, you can come up, sit down at the mic, and provide your public comment. Got one in the back. Come on up. Right in line.
Rich Comer, 1303 Farmington Avenue. I just making sure my zoning's not changing.
You are not. You're on Farmington?
Farmington 1303.
You're not. So
right there.
I'm gonna come up and just point out for the public if I can.
I'm sorry, I couldn't see
No,
it
no,
back
no,
there.
no.
I have no idea what
Good to
it's
see.
going
So
on.
really what's happening, oh, right on the TV, so these 3 highlighted properties are the applicants. And then what we did, so you see those 3 are changing.
Okay.
And then what we did, this area here, which is townhomes, is right now zoned as part of R2 single family. So we grabbed that and made that single family as well.
Okay.
And then this property down here that fronts on Farmington, you can see it kind of comes back. So it's half R2 today, and then this little sliver is R3. So that property owner could technically come in and say, hey, I want to develop R3, or I could develop R2, and then we'd be in a quandary as what actually applies. So we grabbed that one and made it entirely R2 because it fronts, it's the only one that fronts on Farmington that's being rezoned, is this one here. If you're on Farmington, which I know you are, you're not being touched. Okay?
Thank you.
Sure. Any other questions or comments?
Can I ask a question?
Yes, for you guys as well, I'm sorry. Absolutely.
I just want to make a clarification. I think I know the answer to this. We are not approving any more townhomes than is currently permitted on this whole parcel as a whole. I think you said 28, I think it was at 135, wasn't it?
There was a couple, I think it may have been high 30s and low 40s, or it may have been somewhere. There were definitely 2 plans you saw before this.
Yeah.
This is the least amount of units that we've seen from the applicant.
Yes, that's correct.
So, oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no problem.
Let him earn his paycheck too.
Yeah, so again, not that we're anti-townhome, but, you know, we kind of frown upon those, but right now, you can develop that with townhomes, it's just a matter of where they're gonna be placed in the property, I think we had this discussion.
Yeah, we talked about it a little last time we were here in front of you in October
Yep.
to kind of go over this proposal. So if you look at the plan that's on the screen now,
Yep.
the portion, I'll call it the rear parcel, it's the larger square parcel, that is R3, and today we could build townhomes there by right.
Right.
The remaining R2 would be single-family homes. So what's allowed today is a mix of single-family homes and townhomes.
Right.
And what we're proposing is a mix of single-family homes and townhomes. It's just, from a planning perspective, what makes the most sense given kind of the unique, situations on the property.
Sure, cause when I talked to you guys, this is basically a zoning flip almost, which would be a net sum zero, although it doesn't look like it's a net sum zero. Are there gonna be any deed restrictions on this at all?
We would be, agreeable to limiting the density, as to what's allowed today.
Okay, and, the obvious question is probably to Eric, but, I've been looking at this for 2 weeks here, I didn't notice it until tonight. There's existing townhomes on there that are not zoned correctly?
Today, correct.
Yeah, okay. I
And
didn't realize that.
that's not part of the applicant's request.
yeah.
We saw that, we added that to correct
Okay,
a current issue that we saw.
very good. End of questions, thank you.
So the larger box to the east, you're proposing, you're thinking to put how many single houses there?
There would, again, under our current plans, we're showing 2 single-family houses there.
Single houses. And the 3 boxes, you're looking to put how many townhouses?
Approximately 28.
28 in there?
Right.
Okay. And once if the zoning does pass, then we would have to have a deed restriction on it, because you could still, that's still be sitting at R3, put townhouses there by right, but the deed will confine that? Is that how you're gonna go with that?
Yeah, we'd be agreeable to limiting the density to what is allowed under today's existing zoning.
And the
Correct.
point of agreement would be when you submit, before we approve it?
We could do that prior to, we still have to, do some engineering and drawing of the plans. There are plans in front of me, they have to be refined. Eric mentioned earlier, subdivision and land development applications. We would actually have to go in front of the zoning hearing board because there are steep slopes on the property. So there would likely be relief there, so that would actually be our first step, even before subdivision and land development. But, so the long and short answer is, we could work that out with Eric on the timing of that.
Any more questions from Commissioner? You want to hand it back to me? or did you get it?
Any more from the public? All right, so what we should do is have a motion to close the hearing and go back into the meeting.
Is there a motion to close the hearing?
Make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And now next on the agenda is all part of this is now consideration of adoption. So you can entertain a motion to approve or reject the zoning ordinance amendment.
So I'll need a motion if you want to move this forward and changing the zoning piece as described and as briefed. Is there a motion for that?
I'll make the motion to move this forward.
Is there a second? I'll second it. You're in a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I'm against.
I just want to note to the board, so because we didn't know that this ordinance would or wouldn't be adopted, that's gonna become ordinance 529, and then you would go forward on the next 3 with 530, 31, and 32.
Michelle, you got my note.
Yes, no, yep.
All right,
Thank you for your time.
thank you.
Thank you very much.
Moving to new business,